You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for Small Business Talk with Jerry. I'm Jerry. We've got 4 guys here with us tonight, so I think this will be a good episode. If not, we just won't air it, but whatever. Anyway, we've got Bob, we've got Ryan, we've got Nate, we've got Brad. Let's start with Bob. Bob, introduce yourself and your business.
Yep. So my name is Bob Wish. I own a complete outdoor service. Just mainly like a lawn maintenance service. I mean, we do some minor landscape type stuff, but all here in the local area, Rochester. Live in Stewartville. Other than that, that's that.
Next.
Thank you, Bob. My name is Ryan Hegland, owner, Hegland's Crave Landscapes here in Rochester. We also serve around Rochester about 30 miles. We don't travel too far out. We're a hardscape contractor, so we do a lot of retaining walls, paver patios. We'll get into like grading, rock edging, etc. But we're not really into, we don't mow grass. We don't do any of that, pruning, that kind of thing. We specialize, though, in your residential redos, so we can come into your backyard and redo the entire thing. So tear out old concrete. If you want a pool put in, we could dig that for you. You want a nice patio, a fire pit, fireplace, etc. We can help with all that. So we've been doing it. This is my 20th year now.
Damn.
It started in 2003, and then 20th year this year, so pretty crazy.
Nice.
I can feel it in about every joint in my body. But living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yep. Thank you for having me, Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate, how about you?
Nate Clicker, owner of Community Lawn Care in Rochester, and specialize in, do lawn care, obviously, but specialize more in the fertilizing, weed control side of things. I like to say the plant health side of stuff. So rather than the maintenance, we do the fertilizing, weed control, insect and disease control, things of that nature with the lawn, a few other specialty things. Just service Rochester area and some Orinoco addresses as well, and we stay pretty specialized there in a small service area. And been in business for, I think we're going on about 17, I think this will be our 18th year coming up here. So.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. Nice.
Brad, how about you?
Brad Berg. I don't have a small business.
Never mind.
Little bit on the next. I'll just leave now. Don't have a small business. Kind of on the other side. Worked in the automotive retail industry here in Rochester, going on 18 years now. Known Jerry a really long time. Bounced a lot of ideas off of him when I was a manager.
Yep.
But I'm that guy that is kind of on the verge of a small business. So. Couple things in mind, but that's kind of why I'm here too, to kind of bounce some ideas, but just a little bit of a different view from the customer service side too. So
yeah, well, and that's another reason I was excited to have you come was when we interacted in the beginning, before I knew you, just getting to know you. You managed that shop like it was your own.
Yep.
I mean, that's not normal. I mean, it's just not. I mean, one of the things I tell everybody is when they talk about expanding, I'm going to open a second location, I want a franchise, I want this, I want that. They've got these grand ideas, and that's great. I mean, we all have to expand. At some point you'd like to do that. That's the goal, is to get bigger and do better, do less and make more. I mean,
Right.
But I tell everybody, it's like, when you are opening that second location, or you're ready to step down a little bit and start vacationing more, start to kind of wean your way out, it's like nobody will have the passion for your business like you do.
Right.
And Brad, you're one of the exceptions to the rule. I'll say that honestly. You really ran it well. I mean, you spent the money when you had to. You held the money when you could. I mean, that's a big deal. But at the end of the day, I don't know of any customer that I ever came across, because we shared a lot of customers. I never had to come in going, that Brad, that son of a, I never heard that. And you can't say that. I mean, to very many people, that's not normal. Again, I mean, you can't make everybody happy. And you did a really good job with that. So I mean,
thank you. Appreciate that.
And Ryan, when did you join B&I? That was
Gosh, Terry,
long time ago.
I think, 17, 18 years ago.
Okay.
I was pretty green into it, you
Yep,
know.
yep,
Nervous
so
to
it's-
talk in front of anybody, of course, but B and I helped teach, and
And then you had the Halloween shirt. I mean, what a difference.
I still have that, Jerry. Yep. I don't think we're going to get into that on this podcast. But
Yeah, right. It's a small business podcast.
yes.
Yeah. That's not that shirt. We'll
Right. Next time.
Yeah, next time. And Bob's been doing my lawn.
Yep, yep.
I'm one of my favorite Nate Brigazzi lines. My lawn service guy is my wife. The guy that mows my lawn is my wife, but she loves the riding lawnmower. She did it. Well, now she's got a couple knees replaced. Bob kind of stepped in, and now she's like, we stored our cars yesterday. Took everything to storage, the side by side, all the stuff, and I'm looking at this Kubota big ass tractor. I
I've
was
been telling her to sell it for years.
yeah, I'm like, you're not going to tell Bob he doesn't have to come back, right? And she's like, no, I'm not. She says, she's all excited, like, well, maybe, kind of. No, I was like, no, you're not. You're not going to tell Bob he's done. I said, just sell the damn thing, really. I mean, this is, it's just going to sit here another winter in Minnesota,
Yep.
So, and Nate, you said Orinoco and Rochester, so Stortville's not in your
No, not
wheelhouse?
anymore. I used to years ago. I used to service all the surrounding cities, and a few years ago made the decision to really consolidate and
Okay.
just get a little bit tighter routes and whatnot.
Sure.
So, yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's been, you think about what it takes to travel. And, we talk about that at the auto shop, and you stand there at the front counter, look out the window. You've all been in the shop, and Broadway, main Broadway's right there. It's like,
Right.
if 1 out of 100 cars that drives by me every day stopped, I couldn't handle it. I mean, I'd be full by 9 o'clock in the morning. My week would be full, So yeah, when you see
That's
guys,
really the point I came to, is I was having to say no to too many other potential clients that I was driving right past to go to other places,
Sure.
and it just didn't make sense.
When there's plenty of work right in your area,
right,
why spend
right,
more on fuel wear and tear, etc.?
yep,
Especially
exactly.
Especially this day and age.
Yes.
Well, and especially, you've got to work. You've got to work to earn, right? And so driving isn't earning. Driving isn't working. So all that time on the road, if you could stay closer to home and just be more efficient,
Yes.
Have you guys ever seen the UPS? Like, was it probably 10 years ago, where they went through and tried to eliminate left turns?
I did see that.
Did you see that? I'm telling you,
I
it's
actually do that. Yeah.
it seems so preposterous to me. But then you look at a company the size of FedEx, but this was UPS, but something that big with that many trucks on the road, and they all went through their route to redirect their routes to eliminate as many left turns, if not all the left turns they
Really?
could,
Yep.
and keep everything right-hand turns.
And it was a like kind of a hot topic thing.
Yeah,
I
for a
remember
while.
reading about it, and I had the same sentiment. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Why?
Right.
But then it was like Waste Management started doing it, and
Yeah.
like all of these driving companies, and it's like the amount of time they're like, if you eliminate like 10 left turns, that's like that can be upwards of like 10 to 12 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
And if for a company like
Times.
that size, that's
Yeah.
huge.
I started doing that a few years ago too. When I make my routes each day, is trying to eliminate all the left turns with pulling the trailer around town too, and it's a safety thing too.
Sure.
Just as crazy as people driving
So what-
Rochester had to
Yeah.
do it.
What do they say when you're taking a right turn, but if you keep making that right turn, you're going in circles?
They said
Then what does that do?
you're a Democrat. Oh, wait a minute. Did we go there? I usually don't start that. I wait for you guys to say it. But
I was going to say that's inefficient, but Democrat seems to fit.
both of our Democrat listeners, we apologize. I just keep coming. Don't worry about that. It'll be all right.
Do you really?
Well,
It's Sunday.
Yeah.
It's Sunday. It's Sunday. Feeling that way. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean that left turn thing. I just saw it. Now I wish I had a Jamie here. Like Rogan, where he can bring up some videos and that. But I saw something not that long ago that in Japan they used a mold to reroute their transit system, because the mold they literally laid out a petri dish with roads, and they blocked it with the openings were roads, and they planted the mold in the middle of it, and it's some spore mold, and it grows, and they said the scientists are saying it grows in the most efficient way possible. And they've actually rerouted their subway systems, their mass transit systems, based on the way the mold grew in the petri dish.
Wow.
I mean, again, it seems so ridiculous. Then the more you
does.
read it, it's like, Wow,
Makes
this is
sense.
like this is like Epstein's client list. This makes sense. I mean, this is just it's just I don't believe anybody ever listened
Yeah,
to you.
but we
about
have
it.
roundabouts in Rochester. So, I mean, that's the next best thing.
What a wonderful invention the roundabout
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Especially for all the semis, and the
Yep.
bigger trucks that we.
Yeah.
I did notice that like some of the newer ones, they've made it so like you can run over the middle part.
Yeah, they're
Yep, and we
flat.
definitely
So then
do.
there's some people that are like,
Yeah.
I've seen people go about as straight line as you can through this.
Well,
It's like,
it's
what's the point?
efficiency. We just covered that. Right.
Are they left turns or right turns?
I think most of that is after leaving the bar.
Yeah, well, there's that. Drinking and driving is bad, but we have parking lots at bars.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, it's we can put more thought into this. That's all.
Right.
But so, what? How long have you been? We didn't cover that. How long have you been in business? How long's Complete Outdoor Service?
Yeah,
been around?
so I mean, my business it's been almost 15 years. You know,
So we're all real similar.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
like Broadway Car Care this is our 20th year. Actually, January 1st starts our 21st year. So, Black Diamond Armory's been around for 7. Design HQ's 2.5, 2. Cappy Garagers just opened. So I mean, we got a few weeks on that one. That's real new, but yeah, 20 years on Broadway. So they're all real similar.
Right.
Have you ever done? I know you and I've talked about. We mentioned BNI earlier. I should say,
Right.
for those that don't know what it is, Business Networking International. It's a cult, but we've been in it for a lot of years, and it's very beneficial.
It works.
It works. It brings in a lot of business. It's not a cult, but that's
It's a
been
cult.
It's a cult. Yeah, it feels. I'll tell you, go to your first meeting. It feels like it. It's intimidating. It's intimidating. But I've been in that group for 19 years. Started just about to the end of our first year at Broadway's when we started, and there's nobody. There's older people in there, but nobody's been there longer. How about that?
Oh, so you're the long-term member
Yeah,
now?
Barb. When Barb left, she was
Okay.
the charter member that helped start the group, and she left last December, so about a
Okay.
year ago. So I'm the old man now.
Fearless leader.
You're the true graybeard.
No,
And you're
In
the
more
president
ways
now,
than one.
Jerry.
no. I have yet to
Vice
take on a
president.
no.
You don't want that responsibility.
COO.
No. I tell you what, I've never been part of an organization that. I mean, the guy that started, Dr. Ivan Meisner, right? I mean, brilliant. I don't have a ton of respect because I don't like what he does. I mean, he talks about small business, but he doesn't own a small business. He owns a multinational conglomerate, and he doesn't put any real effort into it other than convincing all of us to pay him and then do all the work. Nobody else has that. I mean, so that's brilliant, but disturbing at the same time. But it brings in business. It really.
Well, that's what I was. I mean, and you can probably answer this too. Is like, what's the most beneficial part? Is it just the referrals?
Well, it's the rapport.
The
I mean,
rapport.
The
Or-
networking.
right.
You
It's
know.
the networking.
Because I
It's
know
the-
you've had me in there visited 3 or 4 different
Yeah, it's
times.
been-
You know, I've.
But okay, so
It-
if you come again, right?
Yep,
You come
yep.
Thursday, and I convince you to join. I'm telling you, you will have 47 or 48 people again. We're back up again. We've been as high as 60, but you'll have 45 people in that room. That you show up Thursday morning, you do your introductions. 20 minutes into that meeting, you have 40 people that trust you. Just like that, because you're going to tell them that I brought you. I've been in that group longer than anybody. Not that it's my word. It goes the same for everybody in that group. Once you've been in that group for a while, people get to know you. I mean, it's no different that if I referred you to my brother-in-law and I'm like, you need to call Bob.
Yep.
He doesn't call you and start battering you like a new customer that a cold call. He's going to come. Yeah, Jerry said, and Ryan and whatever, all this. That's just it's that rapport. It's instant. You didn't have to work
word of
for it.
mouth.
Right. You
Right.
worked for it with me, but
Right.
you're not going to have to work for it with them. You get that times 40 plus in that room. That's valuable.
It's by far,
valuable.
it has been my best marketing over the years.
Is it?
We just got about 3 years ago when COVID hit, everything was online. Half of the group, we were doing other things, myself included. I was sitting in the excavator working, I
Yep.
had my phone sitting above me, trying to pay attention, and nobody was paying attention,
No.
And this in-person thing is why I loved it so much,
Right.
You're giving each other grief and,
Yep. Yeah.
and so on. That was the fun of it.
Yeah.
As the last couple of years there, half or 60% of my business was BNI related referrals.
That's huge.
Still to this day,
Yeah.
I'm getting BNI referrals, 5th, 6th,
Yeah.
7th tier. So great marketing.
Yeah.
And word of mouth referral, and it's just built on trust.
Yep,
Well, I
built
just
on
think-
trust. Have you ever been involved?
Yeah,
with it?
my first, I think almost 10 years of business, it was key for me getting started. Yeah, I met a lot of people, still have a lot of great relationships through that, and there's still business coming out of it.
And you were a president too, Nate.
I was.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was just my turn, that's all.
Just my turn. Well, I made it 19 years without taking a turn. That's,
Nice.
Well,
Sounds like
that's
Jerry.
just not fair. Everybody should have to do that.
Excellence in
they
evading.
should.
Jerry's
should.
slipping out the back door.
I don't disagree.
I think, I mean, marketing is huge. Rochester has a unique business place. It's unique and it's not. Like, we're a big town, but town, right? It's not
town.
big city, it's
Right.
big town.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jerry and I used to talk about this a lot. And part of the reason why, when I was running a big corporate company or branch, I should say, I would partner with Jerry. Part of the reason is, he's well known in this town and his businesses are very successful. And if you got somebody like Jerry saying, go see Brad, that meant a lot to me. But I mean, if you can market in any way, whether it's a group of people, because like outside in, like you guys are all kind of in like a similar type business, it's like nobody opens the yellow pages anymore, but you hit the Google machine and you search, lawn care or what, or automotive service.
Right.
It's super intimidating to see all of the businesses that are out there. But if you have that marketing group, maybe somebody's not in that marketing group, but Jerry's neighbor says, oh man, who cuts your yard? Or,
Right.
who's doing your fertilizer? Your yard looks great. Or even if he hasn't used you, but he's marketed with you, you know what I mean? Like, that's so important just for anybody to say, you got to give my guy a shot.
Yep.
That sales force that you have on your side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So like you
huge.
say, it's instant rapport. So everyone talks about, when we're in the group, we all talk about accountability. We talk about, the training, the education, accountability. Those are the core values, and you got to pick your favorite one. It's like, okay, we're all good people here, and we're relatively intelligent, or we wouldn't be able to function as a business owner, right? And so, when you bring that in, it's like I just want you to trust me, And there's only one good way to. It's easy to get you to trust me, but to keep it, the only way to do that is to be trustworthy. Period.
Yeah.
There's no secret sauce. It's
Business can be simple. Say what you do what you say, and treat people like you want to be treated. Back to the golden rule, I think.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sure.
It's quite simple, though. If you respect people and do what you say, you're going to do well. And that goes a long way. I think...
100%.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny to comment on, if I send someone to you, it means something. That Ryan's was in our BNI group for a long time, and it goes the other way too. How many times did you hear? I remember Mark Nelson. I probably had a half a dozen of the guys going, we were in Discount Tire getting tires, whatever, blah blah blah. And then I hear him say, well, yeah, and if you need alignment, you should go to Broadway Car Care, talk to Jerry. Right. So it's just as impressive the other way, because also they're like, well, this big corporate chain is pushing everybody to this local guy, because we're not a chain. We have one shop. That's it. We're not franchised.
Right.
We're not, And so it's funny that you say that, because in the group, they'd stand up, and that would be like their testimonial for me was really not about me at all. It was what you had said, or one of your guys had said, where they had given them a card or something and said, here, go talk to Jerry. And, and to me, it's just, that's worth gold. I mean, it is, it's all about trust. I mean, we fix cars, but you take care of people.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's really
It's not
it.
just fixing cars.
Yeah.
Though.
It's not.
I mean, like you say, it's the
It's
trust.
it's the people business. I mean,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
really
Yep.
you
Yep.
take what your tangible business is and you remove it, and if the skill in that is how you take care of your customers. Because I'm sure we've all had moments where we messed something up, almost dropped the first F-bomb there, but we've all had
We've
moments.
been waiting for it.
Let it go, man.
We've all had those moments, right, where you screw something up,
Yep.
and it's how you handle it.
Yeah, if you own
And
it, you can get through it.
I work for some dealerships here now, and I do a lot of training with some of the advisors and stuff, and I always tell them, like, some of my most pissed off customers that screamed at me, wanted to choke me, that, like, you very easily could have been like, fucking kick rocks, dude.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it
There it
is.
is.
There it is.
There it is. 18 minutes, 30 seconds. You guys are rock stars. I'll tell you what, the restraint in this room is amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
is my tongue bleeding? I've been biting it. But yeah, like some of my best customers still to this day, that even now that I don't work in that business, they're still good friends of mine too. And it was just because of how you handled it. And you always just pull yourself out, right? The golden rule. Man, what would I expect in
Yeah.
this situation? And if you fire on emotion, it never works well. You know,
I used to always kill customers with kindness,
100%.
and they hate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
it's very hard for them to be mad at you when you're being extremely
Absolutely.
nice to them, and you
Yeah.
keep your cool because it's nothing personal.
Right.
Right.
They had a bad day, maybe.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
but you don't need to take it out on me either.
Or they're
Right,
just a
right.
dick.
Or they're just a
Yep.
dick.
Yeah, I mean,
that could
it's-
very well be.
No,
Run
but
into
either
just
way,
a
you
few
can't
of
fix
them
it.
Over the
You
years.
can't.
But,
Yeah.
but either way, you can't. I mean, my point is not to make fun of somebody because they're not a nice person. My point is, you can't fix it either way.
Yep.
All you can do is deal with what's in front of you. What did I touch today?
Yep.
I'll make sure that's right, and that's the best I can do for you. You know, I feel for you. I don't want to have a
Empathy.
bad day. Right? Empathy.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like, and sometimes a lot of your customers make a quick statement. No relationship is equal, right?
No.
I don't care if it's you and your daughter, it's you and your wife, it's you and your dad. One of you is more invested in that relationship than the other. There's just no such thing as equal. We're human beings, right?
Yep.
So now you start talking to customers. When the customers come in, it's embarrassing for me. And as I get older, this is honestly, you guys are all younger than I am. So it's honestly a problem as you get older. I struggle with remembering names. I've never been great with names, but I see the customer once every 2 or 3 months. They walk in the door and it's like, Jerry, how you doing? And we always talk friendly. And I can remember what kind of car they have. I probably,
Yep,
I remember if they have 3 kids.
If you saw the car, you'd be like, "Hey, Bob."
Yeah. but that's the thing. I remember he's got 3 kids. I know one's at Luther. I can remember all that stuff, but the name, it's, and then of course, when they drop at their car, you're like, I need to know your name.
Yeah.
And you feel like
I'm
a heel.
famous for that.
But everybody on the customer side, they're always great people. They recognize I come in here once every 3 months, and you've seen how many hundreds of people in between me being here. I know you because you're my car guy. You're my guy.
Yeah.
And so and that's embarrassing sometimes because you do kind of feel that it's like a friendship. But I see you once every 3 months. We don't hang out. We don't
Yep.
call each other. You know
Not
what
to
I mean?
mention the 25, 30 other customers that you
Well,
talk
that's
to
just
that
it.
morning.
That
you
morning,
know?
right? That
Well,
day,
they can't.
that one day.
The customer can't expect you to remember.
They-
everything.
And they don't. And they don't.
Yeah,
But it still doesn't
yeah.
make it any less embarrassing
No.
Right.
to
It
me.
It
you
is
know?
frustrating. I've definitely, when our line of work, it was like I had the computer right there. It's like, hey, what's your phone number again? It's
Yeah.
like nobody expects you to remember that. And then you pull it up and you're like, oh, Don, good to see you. Because it's right in front of you. But it's like, how do you spell your last name again? It's Smith, asshole. You don't remember me?
Very simple. Very simple.
Yeah, well, that's part of that is having that rapport with your customers, and we opened the auto shop. We opened it January of 2004. We quit advertising in February of 2007. We haven't advertised since,
Wow.
and we don't, but we forge relationships.
Right.
I remember when we started working, Tony. I don't remember his last name. But he was the manager of the other store,
Yep.
the other store.
Big Tony.
Big Tony. Yep. So here's the deal on tires. So here I'm going to give everybody a little bit of something on tires. When you go to a small shop like Broadway Car Care, we used to sell tires. We haven't now in 7 or 8 years. It's been a long time. We quit because of you, actually. I mean, because of
Yeah, I remember
discount
that. I
tire.
remember
Yep.
that conversation. Worked
Yep.
well.
Yeah, it was. It was great for everybody. But tires are a dirty, nasty job that unless you are a big company that specializes in tires, it's hard to make money at it. But as an auto shop, you touch tires, you get to look at brakes, you get to see tie rod ends, you get to do alignments, you get all kinds of stuff that we want to do. So tires was a necessary evil. Well, then the tire market kind of changed. The manufacturers, we used to be able to buy tires very similar in price, and you didn't make a lot on them, but it was enough. Well, then you introduce like Discount Tire, pick on them a little bit. They come into town, and all of a sudden, my wholesale on a tire is, say $200, and I'm going to try and sell it for $225 or $230. Not much margin, but it's enough to make it worthwhile because of the other things we get to look at. Well, then you bring a Discount Tire in, and they've got a deal going, and it's $198 a tire. Retail. Walk in the door and just get them done, and we'll do it today. And I'm like, you're going to call me. I'm going to order your tires. It's going to take a week before I get to it. And I'm going to charge you $230 plus I got mountain balance. And like I said, these guys walked in and just undercut everybody. And so my initial reaction was, well, fuck you guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, who do you think you are?
Right.
And then I started kind of looking at it going, about 3 times a year, when you'd see like Michelin or Goodyear or BF Goodrich on TV, and you'd see the big ad campaigns, Bridgestone, and they pound it for about 3 weeks, then you don't see a tire ad again for 3 or 4 months. That's just how that cycle. When that ad was going on, those national promos, I would get tires at a price I could compete with these guys at, right? So there's about maybe 12 weeks out of the year that I could compete with them. My fear was always that you would call me, okay? Bob told you to call me. So now we got that relationship, right? We got that referral. You call me, and you call me for a set of tires. You don't know me. You just know Bob said I'm good. So you call me for a set of tires. I quote you $1,400 out the door for a set of tires. You call Brad when he was doing this, and he tells you it's $1,050 for that same exact set of tires out the door. Well, I'm probably not going to get that sale, obviously. But what else don't I get? Now you've got this idea when your water pump goes out or your brakes start grinding, I can't go to Broadway. Those guys are way too expensive.
Exactly.
Because it's the only experience you had. So, of course, me being me, once I got through that initial shock and the F you guys, I don't want to, it's like, what can we do to make this work? I mean, there's got to be a way to massage this situation to be beneficial. Because, let's be honest, I don't want to do tires in the first place. My guys hate it. I don't like it from the administrative side. There's not a lot of money in it.
Mm-hmm.
My guys don't like it because it's heavy, dirty, nasty job.
Time consuming.
Time consuming for what you get paid, And so I started just sending people to Discount Tire because I liked them because they only do tires. They don't do alignments. They don't take any of the gravy work that I would like to do and the things I can be the hero, in your situation when you need something. So I send them that. Well, then I get this guy calls me, wants a price on a set of tires. And I said, I told him that's about 12 weeks out of the year I can treat you right on tires. This isn't one of them. Give Discount Tire. They've got one at the north side, one on the south side, whichever you're close to. They're good people. I mean, I've never had any real complaints. And their prices are awesome. Their inventory is fantastic. Their guys know what they're doing. They're quick. They'll get you in and out. And so finally, he's like, okay, enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, my name's Tony. I'm the manager of the North Discount Tire. And he said, I got all these people coming in going, Jerry sent me from Broadway Car Care. Jerry sent me from Broadway Car Care. So he goes, I'm walking out in the shop. Who knows Jerry? Who's Jerry? He must have a buddy in here. Must have a guy, right? So he's asking all the employees, who's Jerry at Broadway? And there was, I don't know who this guy is. I have no idea. So he calls me to buy a set of tires. And I referred him to Discount Tire. And he's just like, can I buy you? He said, so I got to get it off my conscience. He said, I called to see what the story was and who Jerry was. And I'm like, well,
you found him.
Yep, this is it. This is all you get. This is as good as it gets right here. He's like, can I buy you lunch? I'd like to sit down and chat with you. And that's where the relationship started. Mm-hmm. And then we got involved with Brad because he was a manager of the F2 stores. He was manager of that store at the time, and the rest is history. It worked.
And it's been great since.
Absolutely fantastic. Matter of fact, I just bought a set of tires for my Power Wagon. Mm-hmm. I kept the car long enough to put tires on it.
Wow.
I took a lot of grief at work for that because I haven't put tires on anything in a while. But yeah, I just put a set of tires on that last Thursday.
If I can branch it back to our business,
Yeah.
I know kind of the same lines is like I know over the years we've all found the things that I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, and like for me, one of them was the fertilization. And it was just like. Then you meet these guys in the business, and I got a couple close, relationships with a few companies, So you call me for fertilizer. Hey, here's Nate. So it's like the same type of thing, I mean, a lot of times you can't offer that service, but you can refer them to somebody good that can,
Definitely, yeah. There's a fearless leader in B&I. Do what you do best and outsource the rest.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's very true.
100%.
Yep. She just did a podcast here about a week and a half ago.
That.
Yep. I told her too. I was a little nervous. I said because, I mean, I made the Democrat joke earlier. But her and I are on opposite ends of almost every discussion, honestly. But somehow we're friends, and we can bicker about those things, and then it's like, let's go get lunch.
Yep. Agree, disagree, and move on.
Right. Adults. I mean,
this
country
wasn't
needs more of that.
the same lady when you parked the Black Diamond Armory
No, her and I don't see eye to eye, and I don't think we will. And in fact, yeah, she put a.
That was a funny one.
That was pretty fun. I mean, if you can't get along with Jerry Fossum, I mean,
Oh boy, here we go.
I mean,
I'm not paying you a dime.
No,
for
he's-
it.
So, what do you want?
he's a dick, but he's easy
He's
to get
nice.
along with.
He'll tell you in a nice
He's
way,
a nice
though.
dude.
You know.
Yep. There's so many times
Have I-
like mutual customers that we had where he'd call me and he'd be like, I got so and so here, and I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. And he's like, okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the guy. I wasn't the asshole. I'm like, no, it's him. He's a dick. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's another good friend of mine, Caleb. Craig and I talked about him in the first one. I said, great guy, except when he's being a dick. But otherwise, he's a great guy. And then I sent him the podcast. And about 2 days later, I just get this ha, ha, ha text. I was like, what are you talking? It's like, was that for me?
Finally watched
He
it.
goes, I watched your fucking podcast. But to be fair, at no point have I ever tried to convince you I wasn't a dick.
No, I mean,
I always owned it.
Yep.
I mean, we all have our
been
days.
straight. He goes, she's straight with you. He tells it how it is. And
exactly.
upfront and honest, though.
And I don't
I'd rather have
try.
that.
Well, really, that's
I mean,
that's
Tear
when-
the Band-Aid off.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me the bad
I mean-
news, and Jerry doesn't sugarcoat.
No, yeah.
And I will pride myself a little bit. I don't ever approach it to try and be a jerk. It's just, you may not like what I have to say, and usually I try to skirt the issue if I know that's going to be the case. And if you keep asking, well, then you get it. This is the answer. I mean, that's just how it is. And there's been a few times in my life I've had to apologize for that. It was never easy, but like I said, and then when you're wrong, you definitely got to man up. Just like we said earlier, we run an auto shop. We're going to make mistakes. We're human beings. Things are going to happen.
Right.
You can't run your business and not screw something up sometime.
Well, that's all part of being in business, is
It is.
screwing up. And sometimes you have to buy that experience.
Oh,
It
yeah.
hurts.
Yeah.
We've all been there before, too.
You bet.
But that's what
It's
gets you to
expensive
the
lessons.
next step. You got to have the grit to keep going if you really want to do it.
Well, one thing I tell folks a lot is, when you try something new the first time and it goes flawless, right? It's awesome. I mean, that feels great, but you didn't learn anything. I mean, really, we don't learn from the things that we do well. You learn from the mistakes
That
you
go
make,
wrong,
right?
yes.
The things that go
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah.
and sometimes the things that you're the worst at in the beginning, they turn into one of your strengths, because I don't like not being good at something.
So you keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, I've killed it on cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've never met one I didn't like. So that you gotta keep that rolling.
It's just,
But no, I think that's a big part of business. So who's willing to give us I don't know if I want to say embarrassing story, but a story where you did something in business where you were like, back in the day when you did it, you were like, this is the shit. This is the next big step.
I'm guessing we don't have enough time.
yeah, right.
Well, I know we all have the stories. It's who's willing to share.
Yeah.
So, and then you look back at it now going, what the hell was I thinking? You
So
know?
this is more of a brief story. Kind of funny, though. Roscoe was involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to drum up business in the off season, wintertime. So somehow Roscoe talked me into offering like a free Christmas tree removal, and then I give them a free consultation in the spring. So basically, I'll take away your Christmas tree as long as you talk to me in the springtime.
Mm-hmm.
So doing something for nothing and then doing something for nothing twice.
Yeah.
And it took me several years.
Jeez, Ryan, you're stupid.
And Roscoe was like, "Hey, remember that time I made you do that?" And it took me 2 or 3 years to really realize what the heck I was doing. But in the same breath, though, it got me in front of people. We
Yep.
got some projects off of
Right.
it. I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to tie a Christmas tree on the top of my Corsica I had at the time. But
Right.
ridiculous things like that, where talking with, you think they're your friends, and then they make you do that, or they ask you to do that, But again, basically what I get from it is, pushing the envelope, trying something different. You can't be
Yeah.
afraid to try and fail.
But
Because we've all done that numerous times.
You're gonna fail.
Yes.
But let's break that down a little bit, too. That in itself, it for all of us who've been doing this now, we all have said 15 plus years for everybody in this room. That seems like a waste of time, right? I mean, obviously,
Definitely
that's
Definitely was.
well, but was it? I mean, when you're young in business, I mean, the business is young, right? And your schedule isn't full. Do you remember, did you get any jobs out of some of those consultations? You had to turn some of them into work.
Definitely did,
Right.
yeah. So, it wasn't directly a waste of time, and I shouldn't say it
Yeah.
like that. Because, again, I learned a lot. I did get some projects off of it. And, you're in front of people.
You wouldn't do it today.
I wouldn't do it
But I
today.
mean, you got a full schedule now.
Back in the
Right?
day, though,
But back in the day,
you're
when
hungrier.
right,
You got to try something. And
I mean, you're looking at
try
next
it.
week. I've got work Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
and I got a little thing to finish up on Friday. Well, I got time.
You got to get out
You
there
know,
and hit the
you
pavement.
you got to get out there.
And
You got to
try.
talk to people, and
Yep.
that's that's a service people want. People hate getting rid of the Christmas tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the beginning of the season, when you're buying it. I remember going in and getting our tree. It's so exciting especially as a kid. But then my dad, at the end when you're going to get rid of it, he's just like, "What the fuck is bitches?
Dropping needles everywhere and
why do I have
water
kids?
spilling."
What the hell was that? You did this to me?" And it's like, "Oh my god!" It's like getting rid of that thing was just that was horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
But so
You gotta go fake now.
Yeah, you gotta go fake.
You gotta.
You got to go fake.
Gotta go
Yeah,
fake.
for sure.
Yeah.
The pre-lit fake. That's
Yeah, right.
That's right. LEDs.
And
Burn my house
that's
down,
like-
baby.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, really, when you break that down, it's easy to say that now that was dumb. But at the time, when you're when your schedule's not full, that stuff's not so. So that's a bad story, Ryan. That was a good deal for you
was
back then.
And I didn't realize it again for 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, you have the time. If you take the time and you care and you put an effort, you can do anything, of course.
Right.
And that just kind of proves that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember coming up as before I was a store manager at Discount Tire. It was always, how hungry are you for it? And they really laid out like a really good model to keep people interested, to keep employees interested, to keep them pushing to be a store manager, because they called it, you're not a store manager, you're an owner. And that's kind of where a lot of that came from, and it's like, yeah, you're an owner, but you're not writing the checks and paying the bills. But I remember we used to get phone calls from people, and they're like, "Oh, my car's at this shop, and they got it tore apart, and they're telling me it needs tires and whatever, and blah blah blah." And like, I used to do these like dickhead moves where I'd be like, "What service did you have done? Did you pay for it?" I would drive over there, take like somebody dropped me off over there, and I'd get their car and bring it back to Discount, put the tires on it, bring it back to the shop that it was at, or before the service. And it was like, could you, like the animosity that I was met with, but I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I'm trying to get mine.
Yeah.
Right.
So then it was like, and it wasn't like an everyday thing, but it was, 2-3 times a year. Well, it was always like a different shop. And then once I was a manager, it's like, customer, you have some tires put on, and something happened to the car, and they brought it into the shop, and they're like, you cross-threaded a stud or a lug nut or something,
Sure.
And it's like, oh, can you help me out and I'll pay you? And it's like, you remember that time that you came and swiped that car under my nose and put tires on it, And it was like, that was kind of embarrassing for me because,
Right.
and then it took a long time to build that trust back, because just like we talked about, it's a big town. And just because they're a competitor or somebody that doesn't offer you something for your business, like, doesn't mean that they can't destroy or hurt your business too. So like, I had a couple shops at the time that were like, "Oh, that Brad asshole's the manager. Don't go see him. He's crooked. Like he'll do whatever he can for $1." And it was like, no, not at all. Like, that's the opposite of what I want to do here. But it's like, my judgment was so clouded by just trying to get my management, get my own store, that I'm out here like burning bridges before I even had a chance to like, that trust was gone before I even knew that person.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of
the
my
old,
like embarrassing,
Yep.
you
the
know.
bad word travels a hell of a lot
Oh, yeah.
faster than
Absolutely.
the good,
Yeah. But
Yep.
that there again, like we said with Ryan, break that down. When you're younger, these are the things that we go after. You've got you definitely, the thought pattern is about 3 steps behind the foot traffic. You're out there, let's
Full
get
of
it going.
zeal.
Let's
Just going
let's
for it.
get her done. It's
Yep.
like, and to be fair, when you did that, you weren't doing it to screw with the shop. You were doing it to help a customer.
Right.
But of course, that shop's not going to see it that way.
Right.
For sure.
Especially when it's a mutual customer.
Right.
It's-
Well, and two, I mean, like I said, when you guys first came to town, and I'm just getting the shit kicked out of me on tire prices, and I mean, I was just angry, and then it took a while. I'm kind of going. I started looking into their business plan a little bit. It's like, who is Discount Tire? Because we didn't have one here. I mean, when you guys came to town, it was like you came 2 stores, great prices, advertising, billboards. It's like, holy shit. I mean, it was just like, boom, we are here. And they start looking at it, it's like, wow, that's a big company. I mean, we didn't have them around here, so we didn't know about you. But it was a big company. You start looking, and they've got, look at their reviews. Every company has bad reviews. And, the really nasty ones, you kind of wash those away because that's not the norm. But overwhelming, great reviews. Really well-reviewed company. And then I dug into it. And you get these YouTube videos that are employees talking about what a great company is to work for. And you have that kind of following on a big corporation. It's like, you guys just do tires. I mean, that's ugly, dirty work. And your employees, for the most part, have nothing but good things to say about it. Your customers, again, well-reviewed. It's like, all right, well, what am I missing? Let's dig a little deeper. It's like, well, they just do tires. Okay, well, I'm mad because they're beating me up on something I don't want to sell in the first place. But I'm too busy being mad to think, give them the goddamn tires. Brad, come swipe that car out of my lot.
Right.
Get the damn tires on it, then bring it back so I can do what I want to do with that car. But you get so focused. And I think as business owners, a lot of times when a customer comes after you, right, and they get a little anxious or they get a little angry or whatever, and all of a sudden that kind of fight or flight thing kicks in. And sometimes, especially when you're young, I know it was for me. I had a temper, and it was hard to rationalize. I should de-escalate the situation. But in my back of my head, it's like, oh, here,
It's on.
Yep.
game on, boys.
Yep.
It's time to hone my skills. But as you get
I'm
older,
not the only one.
Yeah.
no. But then you get older. I mean, I was telling Fred and Kelly the other day. I said, I don't get yelled at a lot. I mean, at Broadway, but that comes from surprises. When you surprise someone, when you tell them it's going to be $600, they come in and it's $1,000. You're going to get yelled at, right? I mean, you guys have all been in my shop. I mean, you haven't been there, but I've worked together for so long. We shared customers. I never tell you $600 and charge you $800. I mean, all you guys can attest to that.
Yep.
I mean, and if we're halfway through the job and something isn't going right and there's something that's wrong, I call again and I talk to you and I explain why it's a situation, why we're in this situation. So when you come to pick the car up, that bill is what I told you. Sometimes it's even less. I mean, but it happens, And I just, we kind of we're going to do this. Then you get it half apart and you're like, oh, this is causing that. This isn't really our problem. We'll fix this, and it's $100 less. Great. I don't call you because that's pretty cool when you walk in there and get that surprise,
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But that's why I don't get yelled at. And I was telling them a story that I got yelled at from a stepdad. The daughter called, the gal calls, wasn't comfortable with the answer I gave her, just didn't understand. It's just can you talk to my boyfriend? So I talked to the boyfriend. He's like, yep, I understand, makes sense, get it done. And he talks to her. She calls me back a little bit later and says, yep, he kind of explained it to me, and yeah, we should get it done. When she comes in to pick it up, stepdad's with her, and he's got his chest all puffed out, and he just starts yelling at me. And again, when I was younger, that would have been a whole different scenario. I mean,
Ding,
it would
ding,
have just,
ding.
right? Well,
Right,
it would have
it's
just turned
on.
into.
There we go.
It would have just turned into, oh, screw me. How about screw you? And it would have been all kinds of
Yep.
nasty words and
Right.
whatever. But all I did, I let him sit there and just abuse me for a minute. And when he took a breath, I was like,
Are you done?
no,
I could see Jerry.
I just said, I sat there, I'm looking at her, and I kind of squared up with her, and I explained the bill to her, and that everything here is exactly like we talked about on the phone, and I used that verbiage. Then he starts barking again. And I'm like, I wanted him to hear me say everything's exactly like we had on the phone. It's exactly what you approved.
Right.
And everything went really well. The car drives fine. It's safe. You're good to go. And he just kept going. So he gets done barking the second time. I just said, what do you do for a living, sir? Where do you work? And I just plain, not like super nice, but not angry, just point blank, where do you work? And he tells me it's an IT job. I'm like, oh yeah, people get mad when stuff doesn't work. You probably get yelled at like this a lot. This is probably normal for you. Think this is how the world works. I'm not used to this. And he's just looking at me like, and I was like, I said, I did everything I could, and I explained, and she's over there kind of rolling her eyes like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, because she was embarrassed. I mean, she was ready to pay the bill, and it was what I told her, it's what she approved. There was no hang up, but he was trying to protect his little girl, and I get that, I mean, I have 2 daughters, I get it, but the point is, he didn't ask me a single thing, just came in and just started barking, and now my response, rather than barking back like I would have 10 years, 20 years ago,
Right.
it's like, what do you do for a living, sir? It's like, so people yell at you like this all the time. Is this just okay for you? You just think this is normal?
Yeah.
I get it. well, no. Well, I mean, it's different. I'm like, is it? Let's talk about that. It's like, lay on my couch here. Let me. Let's like, I'm a therapist now, I guess. But that's the kind of situations that I get into now, and but you run your business right. When you make a mistake, you take care of it.
Yep.
You make sure that car, if I screw something up or one of my guys does, whatever it is we screwed up, it's going to be at least as good as it was when it came in, if not better. In a lot of cases, better, because we're broke something, but it's on a 10-year-old car. It's a 10-year-old part. We're going to put a brand new one in. I'm not going to super glue it back together. A little duct tape here. It's like you put a new one in, and you just, and you tell the customer, this happened, blah, 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 but no worries, it's done. And I don't even call them and tell them until it's fixed. I mean, if I can fix it in the same time frame that we were already in, or we got to hustle to get it done, I'm just going to take care of it, because I don't want anybody mad at us. That's, because the bad word does, it's been said for 100 years, but it's because it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need 100 people to talk good about you to overcome those 7 people that talk trash.
Absolutely.
That communication piece is just, it's so big, and it's like, you hear it all the time, like communication is key, but it really is. I mean, it's kind of one of the things that we struggle with some of our younger advisors nowadays, is it's like, well, we told him it's probably going to be this much, it's actually this much, he's going to be here to pick it up in 20 minutes. And I'm like, you didn't call that customer and tell him? Like, no, I'm just, kind of putting that off. I'm like, and I always tell him, like, you got to get good at having tough conversations. You really do. Like, you have to be, and once you get good at it, like Jerry's been doing it for a really long time, and I think he can probably look at things and, maybe kind of self-diagnose. Obviously, the guys in the shop, definitely you want doing that, but you can be like, in my experience, it could be this, but it could also be this. Jerry said that I haven't been in his shop. I'll challenge his memory.
Yeah, I guess.
He's fixed a couple of my cars, or Darwin has, or whoever.
Yeah.
And Jerry and I have had a very similar conversation where I dropped the wife's car off, and we thought it was A, and he called back and he goes, it still probably could be A, but there's a good chance that it could be B, and B is more expensive. Where do we stand? If it is B, would you like us to go ahead and do that?
Right.
And it was just a very easy conversation to say, obviously the trust was there for Jerry, but even if I didn't know Jerry, he's like, it could be $350 like we talked about, or, worst case scenario, it might be $1,200. Yeah. I just want to check with you, where do we stand if it is $1,200?
Well, get out in front of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it was like, you know what? Of course I'm angry, and I worked in the industry, so I'm like, I wanted to be like, what do you mean $1,200? But I'm like, yeah,
I don't need that premium air, Jerry.
Yeah, right? So I'm like, go ahead and do it. And then it was like 20 minutes later, he called back and he's like, it's only $350, man. But he was like dragging me along. He's
gotcha.
Like, well, he's like, I got some good news and I got some bad news. And I'm like, oh, great. But no, if I would have just showed up and it was $1,200, like,
oh yeah,
that's can't do that.
That's where you get yelled at. I mean, right? That's and people, they don't let go of that very fast, and they shouldn't. I mean, in all fairness, they shouldn't let go of that. It's got to get taken care of. And I've had things where I've come back from lunch or I come back from a day off, and there's a car there, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, and the way we do it, we'll write the estimate on the invoice and say it's $350. Then I call you. Yep, go ahead and do it. I circle it and I write okayed. Now everybody knows. Anybody can glance at that ticket. I don't have to be standing there. They know it's okayed. I come back and I've got my $350 okayed, and then there's handwriting that's not mine, and it's got like an extra $200 on it, and there's no circle, there's no okayed. So I go back and I talk to my guys. I'm like, it's not circled. The car's out back. The keys are up front. It looks like it's done. Where are we at with this? I got to call them and sell this yet? No, I put it in. It took care of it. We're good to go. Okay, that's not how we do this. I mean, it's not how we do this. It's like, and then of course on the mechanic side, nobody was trying to take advantage of anyone.
They're just doing their job.
Right. It's like we told them that it needed front brakes. Right? They were grinding. Fair enough. Now we get it apart. Caliper stuck. Well, I need another couple $100 for a caliper. Well, you can't drive it without it. So that's the mechanics. And again, not throwing them under the bus. That's just their mentality is I couldn't put it back together with the old caliper. It was junk. We had to put a new one in. It's not safe. Customer can't pick it up. Then obviously you got to fix it. Mm-hmm. Obviously we have to put a caliper on it.
Yep. No way around it.
Right. There's no way around it. But the customer has to know about this before they walk in the door to pay the bill. And so, unfortunately, so I called them and I said, okay, while I was at lunch, blah, 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 they pulled it apart, caliper's bad. I said, it's about another $190, whatever. And I'm like, okay, how long is that going to take? I'm like, well, to be completely honest, they did it while I was at lunch. I'm not going to lie to you. It's done. It's ready to go. But I said, and he goes, well, you guys usually call. No, I usually call. and I kind of try to make a joke about it because I've been doing this for 30 years. And that makes me uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
That situation, I shouldn't be in that. I know better. My guys know better. But, we're busy. You're shorthanded. I mean, there's a million excuses, right? We can all grab the crying towel and try to make you feel sorry for us. But at the end of the day, it's 30 seconds. Make the phone call, And the customer's like, well, it had to have it. And so they were on board. But I'm telling you right now, I was completely prepared at that point. If that customer went, what the are you kidding me?
Yep.
If they'd had any kind of
You're eating it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
don't worry about it.
Forget it. I got it.
We're good.
I got it. And I'll tell them we should have called you. I apologize. This phone call should have been made before it was put in, and I'll take care of it. And I'm leaving it on there, right? It's safe. You can come pick it up. But yeah,
it's the old phone call to test that customer's ability to be rational.
Right. That's what it is.
That's really what it is.
That's really what it is.
Yep.
And we talk about, you had made a comment about being a big town, right? Everybody in your industry, you kind of know each other. Our industry, you know each other, and you get that animosity of competition. Okay, so if you said you do some light landscaping, right? Ryan does heavy landscaping. That's all you do. If one of you quits landscaping tomorrow, is it going to affect the other one?
Not directly.
Right? If one of you doubles the amount of landscaping you do tomorrow or tries, is it going to affect the other one? Not really. I mean, my point is we're not competition, right? You guys, especially here, this wasn't really the plan to bring in like the landscape lawn crew, because I tell everybody if you want to come in and sit on a podcast episode, I just want to talk about small business. As long as you have an outlet, an area that we can talk about, I don't care if we have a landscaper and a tire guy, an auto shop, a gun shop owner. None of this stuff matters. It's just I want to talk about business.
It's business.
Right. So the fact that we have you guys kind of in a real similar industry is kind of cool because the next thing I want to chat about, we're at 50 minutes in my 35-minute podcast here, just for the record. But I mean, everyone gets, or not everyone, but a lot of people get caught up in the competition side. And like I said, I mean, honestly, I don't believe if Bob tomorrow decides I want to double the amount of landscaping I do this year compared to last year, okay, you're not gonna get up in the middle of February going, oh, fucking Bob, my God, he just took half my customers. You're not gonna notice that,
I mean, I think the number one thing is you just can't compare yourself to anybody else because it is intimidating. Drive around Rochester, it's like landscape company, lawn care. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it seemed like for a while everybody was starting those.
Yeah, you lost your job. You're a lawn guy. It's like.
Well, I mean, okay, let's break that down a little bit. I mean, it's, and I'm not picking on you guys at all, but I mean, it's a pretty inexpensive business to start.
Right.
And now this is going to sound really shitty, but I mean, when a guy
doesn't take a rocket scientist,
right? I mean, that's it. It's like nobody, you're not going to come to my house and go, "Hey, can I mow your lawn?" It's like, are you qualified? I mean, seriously, it's like I look out back and I see a handle of a lawnmower. I assume there's a lawnmower in the truck, but I see that handle, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a fucking expert. It's like it's a pretty on the small scale to get going, and. Now you look at, like, I don't know your equipment, but I know, Bob, the amount of equipment that you've added over the last 5 or 6 years, it's crazy. I mean, and Ryan, from when I met you, Corsica tree removal to look at the dump trucks and the amount of equipment, the skids, I mean, the stuff you have it's crazy. And I don't know where I see your trucks, of course, at the shop, but I don't really see your equipment.
Sure.
But I mean, obviously I'm assuming 17 years, there's a little difference between what you have today and what you had 17 years ago.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing you got to look at is in the lawn care business. But how many of those stick around?
Yeah.
And that's where over the years, if I may.
Yep.
Every year, every spring, I used to think, oh, there's 3 new landscapers. Oh, great. You know what I mean? But then when you do what you say what you do again,
Yep.
they're really not your competition.
No.
Right.
You know, there's people that get into the game and they want to make the quick buck. Well, lawn care, landscaping, I mean, any small business, I don't think is that.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
Not if
There's
you do it
nothing
right.
easy, quick, make big money. You know what I mean?
No.
If it's
If you're
easy and
out-
quick, everybody'd be doing it.
Yep.
And if you're out for that, I think you're going to grow big for 3, 4, 5 years and then implode.
Yep.
And we've
Right.
seen that with several companies in town here.
Absolutely.
Nate and
A
I
lot.
talked about
Yeah.
on the way down, you know, and they can have that, you know, but for those 3, 4, 5 years, I'm jealous of them too.
Yeah.
They got that big job. They got that big job. You know, what am I going to do? But in reality, though, they're just cutting the industry short
Yep.
and cutting corners, and it's actually worse on the industry. So they're going to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So I try not to worry about the new companies.
I agree.
Let them do them.
agree.
You do.
And
you.
that's where I think it's vital to, and that's a mistake I had made years ago, was being jealous of these other big companies, and I wanted to be a do everything company, and so I got into the maintenance side of things too, and bought all the equipment and hired the guys, and had 5 technicians working for me, and we're taking care of 500 properties, whatever, doing stuff. But then I realized pretty quick, I'm really not wired for this.
Yeah.
I'm not wired to be managing a bunch of guys and have the stress of the debt and everything else. Where, so it's easy to get jealous of those guys. Same time, you said most of them are gonna be gone. At one time, we were those new guys.
Yeah.
New guys on the block,
Yeah, we-
and how many
definitely.
and how many are still around
Trying to make $1
from
million
those first
hauling
years?
Christmas trees.
Very
Right.
few.
Good thing gas was cheap back in the day.
Yeah. I had a good buddy of mine that, kind of told a similar story, that at the end there is, he lives in northern Minnesota, and he owns it's a diesel shop now. He works on diesel trucks, and he got in with I think it was a landscaping company at first, and started servicing all of their dump trucks and all their stuff like on the weekends, and started just taking care of and it's kind of evolved into this business, and he's got mining companies, and he does really well, and very successful business. But I remember he was helping a younger guy start like a similar business, like kind of in his area, and I'm like, back in my younger Discount Tire days, I'm like, oh, you're helping the competition?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
And he was like, he's like, I don't plan on doing this forever. And I would, he's younger than me. I would, like, when I retire, somebody would maybe send my customers to. But he was like, one thing that just stuck with me is, like, if you're out to bury competition and put people out of business, you're in it for the wrong reasons. He's like, just focus on your clientele and focus on what you're good at and your niche, and build your business that way.
Absolutely.
If you're just like, I don't want to drop a name in here, but there's a gentleman in this town that tried to own a couple businesses, and his model was to put people out of business.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
How'd
you
that
guys,
work out?
Yeah, and where is he now? And it's like the guy is hated
Yeah.
by so many people in several communities just because of that. Because it's a big town
I
that
thought he
we
was
live
talking
in.
about you for a minute there, Jerry.
Well, it involved me.
I think it involved a lot of us in that
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to comment on that situation, I'm going to name drop Steve Fallhaver from Jim's. Great guy, runs a great shop.
Love
They
Steve.
they do exactly what we do. So if you want to talk about direct competition, that's it. I mean, they don't do anything that we don't do. Tires are probably the only thing that they do that we don't do. Otherwise, it's the same. Now, Steve just towed me a car here this last week. When I see him, we talk. Great guy. They have a great shop. They're honest. I would trust them with my cars. And Jim was his dad, so it's a family business. And I mean, I've had friends of mine work there as mechanics. He treats his guys well, but he actually came in one day dealing with this gentleman who had had told me 2 days before that I'm the old guy in town, and he's coming, and there's nothing I can do about it, and give it a couple of years, and I'm putting you down. Told me he's putting me down, and I kind of laughed, and he goes, "You think this is funny?" I said, "Call me in 2 years." I said, when you're putting me down, I said, don't feel bad about it. Just call me and we'll discuss it a little bit.
Right.
And he's like, "This is an effing joke to you." I was like, "Okay, here's the deal. You are trying to be a big deal in a small city. And because you called it a big town, at the time I called it a small city.
I mean, it really is.
Same, same. I'm like, we all know each other. I said, and the way you're going about things, I was like, I'm not saying you can't bury me, but you can't bury me.
Mm-hmm.
You can't bury me doing the things the way you're doing it. I said, we've got good customers, and this all came because he was trying to tow a gal's car. She had called me, a customer of ours. I sent out Tri-State Towing, and they were on the way. He was driving one of his own tow trucks, drove by, pulled up, and just started hooking up to her. And she's like a 70-ish, 80-year-old woman. She calls me back just bawling because he's hooking up to her, going to take it to his shop. And I was like, so I called him, and he's just like, what can I do for you? I was like, you're hooking up to a customer's car, and you told her you're going to take her back to your shop. She told you she doesn't want to. I said, so I thought I would call you rather than calling the police. You call the police. You do whatever you got to do, because a couple of years from now, I'm going to bury you. He said, it won't take long. He said, maybe not even take a couple of years. And I'm just like, seriously, you don't understand how this works. You can't lie to people. He told Brad that he wanted to do all of his service work and alignments, which we had been doing a lot of that for Brad at Broadway. And so then Brad said, well, you know what, Jerry, he's been doing it with him for a while. He does a good job for us, whatever, Then he tells him, well, and he says, and besides, corporate policy is we're not supposed to send our customers anybody that sells tires. Jerry quit selling tires to do this deal with us. And so then he says, well, he just put tires on, 2 or 3 of my tow trucks. He tells them. And it's like, so then Brad calls, he says, okay, I don't want to start any shit, but I have one question for you. Don't read into it too much. Did you just put tires on any tow trucks? I'm like, dude, I haven't put tires on anything in a year or two. Whenever I don't remember what the time frame was on it, but I'm like, since we quit doing tires, we quit doing tires. I buy my tires from him,
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, I know. I knew the answer before I called. I just want to check it.
And I think it was the day before, like Adam was putting rims on your truck.
We
something.
did. Yeah, that's right. It was on the Power Wagon. We bought rims and tires. It had like 3,000 miles, and I swapped out. And so this I was like, dude, you just put tires on my truck. If I'm going to do them for someone else, why wouldn't I do my own? He's like,
this really. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but this is when it hit me that our business community is really tight and it's really small. Like I still have coffee with the guys from South Goodyear, Heartland.
Oh yeah,
with Jim, and he's brought me to Twins games and stuff like that. And I got, they were competitors, right? But all of a sudden, I called Jerry, and I'm like, "Is this what's going on?" And I'm like, "Your truck was just here." Like, he's like, "I'm like, okay, I figured that wasn't what's going on." And he was like, "This guy's nuts. He told me he's going to put me on a business." And I'm like, "Well, he's an idiot because that's never going to happen." But I'm like. My phone started ringing, and it was like Schaefer calls me from Pulver, and he's like, "Dude, have you talked to this guy? Like, what's going on?" He's like, he said that your discount tires going on a business. I mean, he's running around. He's just sound like, and it was you, Schaefer, Jim from Heartland. I mean, all these like shops were calling me. Josh from Precision, and he's like, dude, have you talked to this guy? Like, what is going on? And Josh had a similar situation where he had a lady called, and he was like, all right, well, I'll get it towed. And he would, I don't know how he was doing it, if he was like listening to like the scanners for the radios.
Yeah.
And he like picked up a tow, like it was Lizard Lick Towing.
Yeah.
And he was like, he heard that Pulver was going to hook this car and bring it to Josh's shop. Or CSC or whoever it was. So he jumped in a tow truck and ran out there and hooked it and pulled it to his shop. And like they had like all of a sudden the lady called Josh like, hey, is my car done? And he's like, it never showed up. Now come to think of it, and like he gets a hold of the other company and they're like, yeah, we showed up to the car wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, yeah, the tow truck came and got it. So the CSC guy thought maybe another CSC truck had come and got it.
Yep.
Because in Rochester, it's like rally-style towing is not a thing. You call your company, they come and get it,
Yeah. We're all pretty respectful of everybody.
It was just nuts.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Well, when I mentioned Steve Hallhaver earlier, he had come in back then, right around the same time as I'm talking with Brad, within a day or so, and he's just like, what do you think of this? And I start laughing. It's like, oh, I got a story for you. And I tell him my story, and Steve's like, yeah, same thing. He says, we met at a tow. And he's telling me how he's going to run me out of business. He's going to this and that, blah, blah, blah. Well, the creme de la creme, this is the funniest part of the story. About 6 months later, Now, granted, I'm only a year and a half away from going out of business. Apparently, you know, I'm on the golf course on a Saturday. I'm in Preston, and my phone, my Facebook Messenger, my texts are just blowing up, and I just have it sitting in there. I'm not even looking at it. I'm having a good time. You know, we're out with buddies, having a few drinks on the golf course. I mean, I have to drink when I'm golfing just because it's so bad. Otherwise, I mean, otherwise,
makes you better.
Well, it does.
It's called aiming fluid.
Well, it's like
Now you have a built-in excuse too. Like, I've had
After maybe
4 of those. Whatever those are.
Yeah. So my phone's just going crazy, and finally, my brother-in-law, who's driving the golf cart, he's like, "Jesus Christ, Possum, answer your phone. He said, at least look at the damn thing. He said, you're driving me crazy." I pick it up, and I have 27 notifications from I don't even know how many people. I mean, random. Nobody was on there more than once or twice.
Sounds like your OnlyFans.
Well, they pay me to keep them on. For the record, it's profitable. Whatever you got to do for $1. But I look at this thing, and it's picture after picture after picture of Pulvers towing another tow company's cars when they came in and took everything. And so, you know, they're taking all of his tow trucks, and they lined them up on Highway 14 to show off the fact that they lost everything. And I'm looking at this going, and I'm thinking, oh, this is happening today. You know, this is so of course I have his phone number. I just text him, and I said, "Do you need another shovel?"
Oh God.
Yeah.
It's like I said, we're a little early, and then it was like 4 days later. He calls back, says, "You really want to start something?" I was like, "Is that what you took from that? That I was going to start something with you? Aren't you the one that told me 6 months ago that I'd be out of business in 2 years?"
I didn't realize that's who y'all were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to name drop.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I
didn't want to say anything about Royal Johnson because you don't want to get that stuff out there.
Yeah, there's nobody that listens to this podcast that is like, hey, what a great business mind he is.
Yeah, but I mean, there was so many falsehoods, and one after another, you know, and it's like, dude, it didn't have to be this way. I mean, when
he took a great business.
Oh, I mean,
all he had to do is just run
business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at that, you know, we've coexisted with that business before he bought it for years. And we all got along. There's 5 brothers, you know, one passed, and I mean, it's a community. You know, you call in, you give your condolences, you work with them, we'd share customers here and there if something was going on. It's like, hey, you know, they said you've had this in a couple times. What was going on? And well, hang on a second, so and so worked on it, and you know, and then all of a sudden the company gets bought out, and we're going to run you all out of business. It's like they had one of the biggest, most successful shops, definitely most known shops in the area. I never heard one of the brothers ever call me and say, "I got your number.
Yeah.
We're taking you out." It was never like that.
They were doing their business.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you would never hear like, well, so-and-so at Virgil said that you guys suck.
Yeah.
You know, you'd never hear
It was
that.
never like that.
Never.
It was never like that.
Why waste the time?
Right. Or the energy.
Or the energy. Work on you and your business, and,
Right.
and don't listen to the noise.
Yep.
I always say
Absolutely.
that as well. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn this. I'm gonna turn this because we're at an hour 6. So we're gonna close her up pretty quick, but you want to relate this to politics, right?
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go.
We can call this segment "Who Put a Quarter in Jerry?"
That's right. That's right. Ask a Biden supporter to tell us why they voted for Biden without mentioning the name Trump.
Oh, they won't.
They can't do it.
Yeah.
They can't. They just can't do it. They just can't do it.
Their hate for one person is fueling.
And I'm not saying that their hate for Trump so I'm not trying to be polarizing on this or be political. In all honesty, if you hate Trump, fair enough. I couldn't care less what you think of the guy, right? I mean, he's not a friend of mine. He doesn't call me to go to lunch, so I don't care what you think of him. But my point is, if you hate something so much that it makes you do something else, what the other thing you do probably wasn't worth doing.
Yep.
Right.
Your judgment is extremely off.
Right.
Yep.
And so for all of us in this room, if I do something because because I'm worried about you being competition, right? If I'm worried about you more than me, I can't make mine work.
No.
And so that's all my point is. It's like you hated a guy so bad that you voted for this guy, and look what we got. You know? And regardless of Biden would have never got in on his own accord. The only reason he got in is because Trump is polarizing. And he really did turn a lot of people to just hate him.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, so
Even Republicans.
He was
Even
good for
Republicans,
small
right.
businesses. So.
I'll tell you what. I mean, the policies were fantastic. The speeches, he said some things I'd like to say out loud, you know, but he's hard to listen to. He's not very presidential, and
Right.
he's embarrassing sometimes, you know.
Yeah, if you'd have just turned the Twitter machine off.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, be
Right.
smarter about things.
Yep.
Well,
when
that's
you're
it,
at
you know.
when you're at that level.
And then you put onto account how many Americans are soft. Well, all of a sudden that's enough. That's enough to be offended, and now we hate him. It's like I can not like what you said and not hate you.
Exactly.
I mean, again, Ryan, I think that was pretty dumb. Let's go get a beer.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm over it. It's whatever.
And I think
But-
we've gotten so far from that as a society where
Yeah.
it's like, you know, like you used to be, even if you were extremely one side of the aisle and you had a friend that was extremely the other side of the aisle, and it's like it used to be that you could go have a beer
Yeah.
with that person and not,
right.
even though your beliefs may have been super different, or if it,
Well, it's
you know,
your right to have
yeah.
that belief, or my
100%.
right to have
Right.
that belief.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But leave it there then.
Right, but 20, 30 years ago, far left was here,
Yeah.
far right was here. And, I mean, you still didn't have a lot to argue about. You bickered. You know, you
Over
bickered about
details,
details.
yeah.
Right. You know, now, far left and far right,
it's
like,
crazy.
sweet Jesus. I mean, it's like, you know, if you're far left and you listen to me talk, you just think I'm a raging asshole. If I'm me and I'm listening to your far left talk, it's like, you are dumb. I mean, it's hard to bridge that gap. The fars have come so far. And so, yeah, but that's, well, my point is, if you hate Trump so bad that you voted for Biden, if you didn't vote for Biden because you liked him, you voted because you hated this guy, well, now look what we've got. Biden's, I mean, if you voted for him, that's fine. I don't hate you. But you got to admit, you didn't help us any. This guy's not the answer. Same thing for us. If I'm going to run my business by hating you, and I'm going to do everything in my business, make my decisions based on how bad I hate you, my business is going to suffer. I'm going to have a Biden for a business. I'm not going to have a good business. Just focus on you folks. You know, I mean, that's we've talked about before. The premise of this podcast is to help wannabe small business owners decide, are you going to pull the trigger or not? You know, and I've said before, if the faint of heart, if you're the guy that lays in, or the gal that lays in bed at night wondering if you shut the stove off, to lock the front door, you know, this kind of thing, it's like, well, you better find a time clock to punch.
Right.
You know, have somebody tell
Put
you
it
what
in
to
your
do.
9 to 5 and be
Right.
done.
Let them tell you when to come in, when to go home, when to go to lunch. That's fine.
Being self-employed, it's a 24/7 thing.
Yeah.
You wake up 3 in the morning, I recommend you have a notepad ready to write shit down.
Yep.
And get it off your mind so you can sleep, you know. But,
Yep.
you know, if I may again, here the passion that I have for the business, for the industry, is still there. And I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can and still have that passion. When I leave a job site and we nailed it and the customer's happy,
Yep.
I still get that, you know, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
I did it. You know what I'm saying?
And the check's good.
And the check is good. And then when the check isn't good, then it's like, fuck no.
I'm not moving those boulders again.
This is bullshit.
Well, that's the worst part is once they're installed on their property, they're theirs,
Yep.
even if they don't pay for it, you know. Again, government is not always the most friendly to small businesses, you know, but it's a passion that you got to have, I feel, to be self-employed.
Yeah.
It does take the right kind of person, Nate, like you said. You know, we had 12 guys at one point.
Yeah.
And my most stressful time was 10 o'clock at night trying to figure out who was going where with what.
Right.
To
Oh,
be
sure.
efficient. You know,
Right.
because I was babysitting, kind of, because again, it's my passion, my name, my quality that I want to keep up, and that's what our quality went down some, and we were fixing more. So while you gross more money, you're not making much more at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, so I've learned that 5-6 guys is where I want to be. I can keep my
Sure.
quality control. I can keep pushing dirt. You know,
Yep.
because I enjoy that. I can go in the office some days if I want, or I can do this or that. You know, I enjoy being part of the game.
Well, when
know?
you have employees like that too, you've got to decide in your business. I'm paraphrasing because I don't know your business, but you know, there's a guy. I'm sure if you have 5 guys, every one of them can run a skid loader,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
The same,
No, by no means.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's. But yeah, if you work for a landscaping company, I'm assuming you know how to run a skid loader. But
Right.
yeah, it's
gotta
not. You're not
find-
treated equal.
Well, I can
No.
run it.
Right,
It
I
ain't
can-
going to be pretty.
Into a building.
Yeah, I can run it.
You got to find their passion.
Yep.
You know, we've done the passion test before with Luann, with some
Yeah.
of our guys. You know, I think several of those guys found their passions were not landscaping, so it ultimately hurt my company
Right.
because they moved on to something different. So it's like, well, shit, I just paid for that, and I paid for that, and now they're gone.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, but in the grand scheme of things, though, it's better for them.
Yeah,
You know,
right. Well, and Luann was like, say, she was a guest here not that long ago, and we talked about that a little bit, and that was one of the questions that I did want to ask, and we ran long, like we have on every single podcast so far. But that was one of my questions going, when she goes in there and gives, because we made the comment, I said we'd be a great team because I would come in and try to help you be profitable, right? And just have the hard conversation going, Ryan, you can't, Tony's an awesome employee, but he sucks on a skid loader. Don't put him on a skid loader. I mean, I don't care how. You can't be that desperate, I mean, and that's a hard conversation to have when Tony's standing right there going, Tony, quit asking to be in a skid loader. You're terrible at this. You can't do it. And then, but I said, when that's all done and we get the nuts and bolts figured out, then Luann will come in and she is very good at motivating people. She'll make you feel good about it. I said, we joked. I said, Craig said, he goes, well, you'll come in and make them profitable, and then Luann will make them feel good about it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's a win-win. But the passion test, as much as we want to do it as individuals, is that really something that a business owner should do? Because, yeah, it's going to point them in a direction. Might not be yours.
Right.
Yep. And not that you want to not be good to your employees. That's not my point at all. It's just that seems a little, you don't want to take them out of
yourself in the teeth a little bit.
You are. You could be.
The frustrating thing about having a staff, too, is, I mean, I can't speak because I don't own a business, but I had similar, motivation, that fire in my belly to, a lot of it was to make more money, to earn more. Right. And I still do have a passion for the automotive industry. And when I had, at one time, 27 employees, and it was like, I had this unbelievable misconception that all of my people had that same burning desire that I did. And that's not fair, and it's like,
that's cute.
Right,
that's cute.
Right.
That's cute.
And it was like, what do you mean you don't want to get here at 6 a.m.? It's like, I'm here every day. And it's like, you can't expect your people to have that burning passion that you do. You can't expect your employees to give half of a shit as much as you do about your business.
Because they got no skin in the game.
But you got to build to their strengths.
Right.
Yep. And sometimes you got to cater to some people's weaknesses.
In the last 4 or 5 years, hiring help has been challenging, to say the least. You
Whole
have
nother
a
podcast.
pulse. Yeah, you have a pulse.
Can you fog this mirror?
Yeah.
All right, you're in.
Yeah, you're good. But what I've lowered my standards, kind of, and I say this with all the respect in the world of my guys currently, of course, because they are very good guys. But some people, though, if I can get them to give half an effort, that's still half of an effort that I don't have to give.
You don't have to give, right.
Even though they're not worth $20-$30 an hour.
Right.
But you know what? They're doing a little bit of something.
Yeah. And to when Brad was saying, like, when you're working for a company like that, 27 employees, and this isn't a loaded question, I really mean this. How many of those, pick a group of 27, you had your best group, how many of those guys were willing to give the effort that you were?
-1?
Actually, one. I had one guy.
Okay.
And that was
now I believe
lucky.
that ratio.
It was
I believe
lucky.
that ratio.
Lucky to have that.
But now the next question is, when you as a manager who, and I said this earlier and I meant it, you ran that store like you owned it. Mm-hmm. And that's a compliment. I mean, that's a huge compliment in my opinion. I mean that with all the best intentions. You have 27 employees, you find one that has a passion you do, you don't keep him very long, do you? He turns into a store manager somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so by finding that guy that's your salvation, that's your kind of soulmate in business, he's not going to, in a corporate, he's not going to stick around long.
Yep.
And for you and the other rest of us.
Yeah. And I think our line of work, that's one thing that I struggle with the most is we run basically a seasonal style business.
Right.
So you get a good guy like you got is just like, say the winter months come around, it's like keeping them around, keeping them busy,
Try to feed him. Yep.
It's very challenging.
It's
Yep.
So
you
now
probably lost a lot of good help,
Definitely because of the seasonal thing.
So now you put yourselves, take away from Brad and the corporate side of things, go into our world as small business owners. When you have that one guy out of 27, and I think that's probably about a fair ratio overall. Really, I mean that 4 in 100 are going to really stand out and be the guy or the gal. But I look at us now, when you have that 1 in 27 guy, you got to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, you got to take care of him. And you've got to understand that somewhere, if he's that good or she's that good and motivated, even if they're not that good, but if they're motivated, right? I mean, they're really going to get it. I mean, they're coming after it. You got a short window, and it's probably less than 3 or 4 years to do something with that person, or they're going to be your competition.
Absolutely.
They're going to open up their own. And so we talked about this in an earlier episode too. It's like when I see that guy, corporate America, a lot of Brads. Now, not Brad, but I mean the boss. You find that 1 in 27, you do everything you can to hold him back because you don't really want that guy to do better than you in the company. You don't want them to take your job, right? So in corporate world, you stuff them down. Problem is in small business, that's a thing too for guys like us.
Yep.
And my motivation or my idea there is you got to recognize that person. And now we look at, I'm getting older. Well, do you want to be me? I mean, I'm willing to step away a little bit, and I'll give you a little more responsibility and a little more pay, and I want to keep you happy. And
Train your
maybe
replacement.
right, and maybe this has just changed my exit strategy because now I've got that person that can go to, or say I'm your age, right, younger crowd that's not looking to retire tomorrow. All of a sudden, it's like, well, Ryan, you're comfortable with 5 or 6 guys. Would you be comfortable with 12 guys if you had Ryan 2.0 running 5 or 6 guys? You could have 2 5 or 6 guy crews, not one 12 guy crew that as long as you've got that 1 in 27 guy to run it. And that's the thing, you got to give them some responsibility and work them in. And again, at your age, you do that, you can really groom them and help them become better. And then still maybe your exit strategy later on,
Yeah, and it's just tough because we did have the 2 crews, 2.5 crews, our foreman, 2 foremen at the time, 15 years and 20 some years experience, But then, the older gentleman retired, and we had 37 jobs on the books, and we had 2 of my key guys, I would say, or one of the key guys, and maybe a 3rd or 4th ranking guy that didn't come back one year. Whether it was a seasonal thing,
right?
Yep.
or what have you. They moved on to something different, and there I am sitting with 37 jobs to do,
Right.
and not enough manpower to get it done.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to the point where I'm not going to overextend myself personally.
Right.
I used to grind 6.5 days a week. I don't want to do that now with
Right.
kids and
Right.
family, and we're getting older.
Right.
You can't do it anymore.
I'll say when you're younger, it's about will and won't. When you're older, it's about can and can't.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Good point.
That's something to think about. And in the Rochester, Minnesota area, we are inundated with Mayo Clinic. If you Google this, you will see that we Google what industries create the most entrepreneurs. The medical field is top of that list because disposable income fairly quick, fairly young. I mean, a lot of your medical professionals, a lot of these guys are retiring in their early 50s. Well, I'm 52. I couldn't imagine. I want to retire tomorrow, but what am I going to do?
Right.
I mean, you go from spending your time earning money to having all this free time, but you're not earning anymore. So what are you going to do? You're going to spend. Well, you can't make that flip-flop unless you're you've got to have a pretty healthy bank account, great investments. You've got to have something going on. And so you look at the can and can't scenario. There's a lot of things that I didn't want to do when I was younger. Now I think about it going, I would kill to be able to do those things now just because I can't. Just the health, the age, I got to be in bed by 9:35. All those things factor in. So there's a meme on Facebook that goes. The other day, Dan, who's he's a regular on the podcast, and he's kind of a co-host, helper, if you will, and reoccurring guest. I woke up yesterday morning, so Saturday morning. I woke up. It was 5 o'clock in the morning when I woke up, and I was done sleeping, so I got up, and I look at my phone, and I have a text from Dan. It was from 9:59 Friday night. So I literally texted him back at 5:01 Saturday morning, and I'm reading this thing. Heather's telling the wife, and she's scrolling through her phone. She shows me this Facebook meme and says, "I am officially the age where if you send me a text after 10 o'clock, you'll get one back at 5 o'clock in the morning." I'm like, "That's me!" And she's like, "Yes, you just did that today." I'm like, "Yeah, I did do that." But that, yeah, I mean, 5 o'clock in the morning, 20 years ago, it's like, it's like Japan. People say it's there, but I've never seen it. I mean, come on, it's I'm not 100% about this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that changes as you get older.
Yeah.
It's like 5 a.m. is like, that's no man's land.
That's when you're shutting it down.
That's no man's land when
Yeah.
you're in your 20s, and now it's like,
Yeah.
if I sleep past 8 a.m., it's like I've burned.
Half
Yeah.
the days
I've
go.
burned
Oh, yeah.
3 hours of the day. It seems like.
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning. I only saw that from one side when I was
Yes.
younger.
Yep.
You don't, unless we were traveling or something. I mean, house started on fire. something like that. It had to be fairly important to get out of bed that or to see it on the other side. But well, guys, we're about an hour and 23 minutes in. Any last thoughts? Anything you guys want to give us? How do we get a hold of you, Nate? How do we get a hold of your business? And if we're in Rochester or Orinoco, how do we get a hold of you and hire you?
The best way is just go to our website, which is communitylawncare.com, and from there's contact form. A few basic questions that I'll ask everybody. Kind of helps me start the process of taking a look at your property and measuring it up and get you some pricing that way. And
awesome.
Phone number and email and everything through that website.
On the website. Cool. Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, so you go to our website, hcl2003.com, and similar. We have a submission form. We can come out or set an appointment up, and we can come out and talk with you and see what we can do to help.
Or we Google Hagelin's Creative Landscape as something a little easier to remember, maybe?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
Bob?
About the same. You Google Complete Outdoor Service, or it's CompleteOutdoorServiceLLC.com.
Okay.
And there's some website submission forms on there, depending on what kind of service you're inquiring about. You can go about it that way.
Okay. Awesome. Brad, any parting words?
No,
No website?
I don't have a website. Not going to find me out there. It's
Only
I can't wait
fans.
to hear. I can't wait to hear
I-
about this new business.
BigBrad.com.
I did keep my pants on, so that's good.
If I may also say, Jerry, briefly. So again, to all those people, who may want to start a business, unsure, you got to go for it. You got to try it. It's really been great.
I was going to say, that
if I may.
Yeah, I mean, that's I say this in every podcast, so I got to squeeze it in there, folks. I'm not going to be disappointed if you don't get in business. I'm not going to be impressed if you do. That's irrelevant. This is about helping you make a good decision for you because it's not for everybody. Right. With that being said, we told embarrassing stories. We discussed that kind of stuff. But Nate, you've been doing it. You said 17 years ish.
Yep.
It's been hard, right? I mean, it has its ups and downs. I shouldn't say it's been hard like the whole thing's been hard, but there's hard times.
Yep, hard seasons.
Okay. Yeah, hard seasons. So why are you still doing it?
Oh, that's a good question. There's some days I do ask myself that. A lot of it is I still do enjoy working with our clients, although that has changed a lot over the years as far as the early years of business. There was a lot of one-on-one communication and relationship with clients. Over the years, that's changed a lot with technology.
Everybody wants to email you.
Yeah,
and
it's
text
really.
you and,
I've got clients now I've had for years that I've never met. I literally send them a contract beginning of the year. They send me a check, and we never talk to each other. There's some good.
Perfect.
There's some good in that too, for sure. But
share your secrets, man.
But I'm also,
I was just gonna say. Wow.
and it's great. But I'm also wired as kind of a relationship kind of person.
Sure.
So it's there's something missing.
Well, I
in
think
that
everybody
too,
in the room
but-
except Bob is that way.
Yeah. But the other reason I've been kind of I'm always looking at different opportunities and starting some different things and whatnot too. But part of it is just the season of life our family's in, kind of waiting for my kids to get done with college as they are now. Potential of getting in business with my son, kind of seeing if there's. Now that's more on my end, my hope, but I don't know that it's actually going to happen, so I'm not going to send them a link to this podcast probably, because I'm trying to not push it. You never want to push anything on anybody, but so between the client relations and potential for that exit strategy, if you will, or carrying on, and I've always had a dream of doing business with family. I haven't had the opportunity to do that a whole lot yet.
No one's
so
tried to talk you out of that yet, huh?
well, yes, and I had a business with family for a short time. We used to we had a goat rental business and stuff for clearing brush and whatnot, and I did that with the kids. I was hoping one of them would get excited about that, but that didn't happen either. Yeah. But
well, you're right though. You can't push your kids. I mean, I've got 4 kids. I have 5 kids. I have 4 that have no interest whatsoever. Only one out of the bunch. So I keep telling them, I said, we'll make you a millionaire kid, and then just the only thing you owe me is to rub their nose in it. That's all. That's what the other.
Well, and you can't turn your kids into a business owner. Period. Whether it's with you or not, people are wired for it or they're not.
Right.
And you just have to have that self-awareness and understanding how you're wired. But
Yep.
Right.
Ryan, how about you?
What's that?
Why are you still doing it? I think you kind of touched on it earlier
A
already.
little bit,
kinda
yeah.
said
I still have that passion
Yeah.
where, I get excited when I see this nice limestone boulder wall go in, and the customer comes home and they're like, wow, that's amazing. That's the part that gets me up every morning. I love chatting with customers. When we bounce ideas back and forth and we work on the project together, again, it's a work in progress, and the passion that I have and that they show and appreciation. I mean, so many customers take us out to eat.
Yep.
Give us, candy.
Right.
Invite you over
Beverages.
for campfires and then get free landscaping advice.
You can do that too. Yes, yeah. I'll take away your Christmas tree for you. But again, it's just that passion I still have, and I enjoy the heck out of it, And when you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. And I'm truly
This is not the
gifted.
Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
Jerry group hug.
Ryan, come on. I was just going to say, like, Kumbaya is right around the corner. What is going on?
But Joe, truly though, I get paid to play in a sandbox. And in your backyard is a big sandbox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you do an amazing job, too. I mean,
Well,
like I
thank
say,
you.
we've seen so much of your work over the years.
It's been fun.
And in our backyard, you fixed some stairs for us
Yep.
in the patio that, yeah.
And so fortunate, my customers too, that trust us to do a great job. It's all about the customer, and we do what they want, of course, and I give 110%, and that's what you have to do in business.
Yep.
Give yourself to the project.
Yep.
So it's been great. Thank you.
Bob, are you ready to retire yet, or are you going to stick around a while?
I think I'll be around a while, hopefully at least.
At least the checking account
Yeah,
says that, right?
right,
Yeah,
right.
Mine too.
Right. No, I mean, along the same lines, I just enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with customers. More so, like, just enjoy helping people out that can't. You get old, or your knees got replaced.
Why are you
or,
pointing
know.
at him?
Yeah, Jerry, come on.
The old
Wait,
bastard.
Just waiting for the fat joke.
Yeah.
Let's finish this off. Let's get her done. No,
Yeah.
but you're right. I mean, I had a hip
I mean-
replaced. Heather had 2 knees replaced all in the last, year and a half. And, you come up and look at our yard. I mean, Bob, between trimming the trees and the lawn stuff, and you did what we had when we did. We had a new driveway put in,
Yep.
and Bob came over and brought a bunch of fill and seeded and put. It looked like a fucking barnyard for straw everywhere, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" But it came in and it looked great when it was done. But I was just like, "What?"
And
I
then
don't
more
have
so,
goats.
you've had so many customers over the years. You see them downtown talking
Yeah.
to them, and just
Yeah. Well, the other night coming home from work, Heather called and said, "Hey, can you pick this and this and this up?" Yep, no problem. So I stop at Fairway, and I mean, I was there. I literally come out with about $20 worth of stuff, which fits in the palm of your hand, by the way.
Yeah.
$20.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah.
It's like you bought
Yeah.
a candy bar and a Coke. All right,
Right.
tell
Yeah,
us more.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even have to get through the front door to pick that up. But I mean, I got off work. I pull into Fairway. I got out of work early, so I
Whoa.
pull into Fairway at 10 to 5. I waltz in the door at 6:35, and Heather just doesn't miss a beat. Not mad. She's just an absolute sweetheart. She says, "So who'd you see at Fairway?" So I laughed. I rattled off about 7 people,
Yeah.
and that was it. I was like, and she goes, "So was it 45 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, or was it like, did you divide it up equally?" And that's just her joke. Like, I was like, fairly equal, I guess. Yeah, fairly equal. But yeah,
I'm
that's-
rarely allowed to drop vehicles off now because I'm going to be late getting home.
Yeah. Well, we talked.
Well, there's
yeah.
that's a big point too, and I know we should probably wrap it up. But like those relationships, and I get that from my wife all the time. She's like, "God, we can't go anywhere." She's like,
Oh, yeah.
10 people, and it's like.
Yeah.
And it's like she's like, "You should run for office because you want to shake all the hands and kiss all the babies," And I'm like, but it's those relationships, and you guys talk about it, like that's what drives all of our businesses.
Yeah, it does.
If you don't like people and don't like relationships, unless you got his business plan where you can just send bills and get a check.
Yeah, right. It is pretty sweet.
Relationships are
That's
key.
right. You the little Nike song, "Be Like Nate."
Yep.
Well, cool. Well, okay. So I have one last question for everybody. You guys want to do this again? We'll come back
Heck
sometime.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now, whichever one of you doesn't want to be with another one in the room, we can talk about that afterwards, one-on-one, you know.
Sure.
But
Bob over here.
but, yeah,
We're still live, aren't we?
yeah, we're still on.
Shoot,
We're still
sorry.
on.
It's that Jerry guy.
Yeah, right.
As long as we can have a new host. You guys,
Yeah, your host again, his name is Don.
yeah, we've got Dan, we've got Keenan, we've got Craig. So there's all kinds of guys that
can
can
host.
replace
Yeah,
me. Yes,
gotcha,
absolutely,
good to know.
absolutely. But no, so you guys, everybody be cool doing this again sometime.
Yeah.
And then two, let's mix it up. Let's bring in. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about that we didn't? I mean, anything? I mean, just a quick note at the end before we wrap it up. Or did we kind of cover enough?
Yeah.
Kind of went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Again,
We did.
My only thing, Jerry, would be, again, if you're on the fence about starting a business, I
Yeah.
mean, don't be afraid. There's a lot of people who are willing to help you. Go around and talk to some of your local companies or local businesses, I should say,
Yeah.
and talk and try it. You got to go for it. I got a brother who's not really my brother, but he's down in Dallas, Texas. He's been talking about getting into a franchise. It's probably been 4, 5, 6 years now. And I'm like, dude, you just have to do it. Quit talking about it and
Exactly.
do it. Because you could have been, you could have had 5 years under your belt now.
Right.
Do it.
But can they focus?
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that a little bit. In not everybody, you don't want to be impulsive about it.
Right.
You want to do your due. Yeah,
He's-
you want to do your due diligence.
He was an analyst for the airlines, corporate airlines. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he dots his I's.
Sure. So that's
crosses his T's.
because, like we said before, you got to be able to focus.
Yes. Yes.
You do have to be able to
Yep,
focus. When
yep.
you can't not that you can't survive in business without strict focus. Boy, it's tough. I mean, that's a long road when that's what's going on. And the other side of it is, if one of the reasons you're hesitant about starting a business is because of your spouse, they're not supportive of it. Boy, give that a long, hard look.
Get a new spouse.
Well, there's 342 million Americans. We're gaining a couple million. It sounds like every few months or so. I mean, teach them a little English. You find somebody you see eye to eye with, whatever. I mean, but I'm just saying, you do.
I mean,
have
it
to-
is a plunge, though.
It is. It's
starting it.
You got to be
was-
prepared not to make any money for a few years.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
would like to chat about on a different pod, like, what does it take to pull you away from work, like to shut your brain off, relax. Do you
ever?
have it?
A lot of
mean-
Captain Morgan.
Yeah. Something to talk about. It could be a whole nother long
definitely.
podcast.
Yep.
you
Well,
know?
we were in
Yeah, for
Jamaica.
sure.
We were in Jamaica 3 years ago, and about the third day into there's a 12-day trip, 11-day trip, something like that. About the third or fourth day into it, Broadway Car Care got a bad review, and it ruined
Oh, yeah.
my day.
Oh,
I kid you not. Now, if you go on our web or our Google, whatever, Facebook, we have very few bad reviews. And I sat on the phone with my guys and even tried to get a hold of the customer to go, what's going on? And now, not that every bad review is a fabrication, but this was completely a fabrication. So then it turned, and I could deal with a bad review. We made a mistake, and people are soft, so they didn't give us a chance to fix it, something like that. But this was a total fabrication. And so then that's what really ruined my day was I spent probably 4 hours on my vacation in Jamaica trying to track down, why did you do this to us? What
What's
did
your
we do to
motivation?
you?
Yeah.
Right? What motivated you to slam us on a review like that? Which most are like, it's one bad review, nobody cares, and you read it, it's this long paragraph of ridiculousness that didn't happen, and it's like, why would you do that to us? You maybe you're one of Royal's friends. I don't know what's going on. Where'd that come? Where'd that come from? And it just absolutely ruined a day and a half of my vacation because
That sucks.
Yeah, and so to your point, when you're a business owner, if you can just turn it off, you're probably not very good at this.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, would you? Thoughts? I mean, agree? Disagree?
100%. 100%.
Is there a healthy level too? Maybe that'd be, like I said, a whole nother podcast. Is there a healthy level of work? Too much work?
Will you invite your therapist in and we can discuss this?
You said something about Jerry's couch earlier.
Yeah, there's that.
I'm
Yeah.
interested.
I'm in for new clients.
What time do you open, Jerry, in the morning? We can all stop down and talk.
Jerry's next business.
This is
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again. I really appreciate you guys making time. It's a Sunday afternoon today. I don't know when this is going to air in 24, but when we get it out there. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys making time and kind of pulling this together to have.
Yeah.
This is our biggest group,
Yeah.
and this was a lot of fun. I was
Yeah.
a little nervous, not sure how it was going to go with this many people, but I I love it. This is
Yeah.
great. So, and for everybody, if you want to get with Bob or Ryan, you want to get with Nate, you want to harass Brad, we'll figure out a way to get you to him. But we're going to go to talkbusinesswithjerry.com. All these guys, their business, they'll have a bio on there. They'll have a link to their business. We're going to go to websites, it sounds like, on this one for everybody. But if you want to get a hold of these guys, show them some love. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thank you.